Boom. Recording.
Okay, I'm recording too.
Okay, here we go. All right, everyone. Welcome to When the Smoke Clears. Today, I'm very honored and grateful to have my very good friend, Adam Kreek. Adam Kreek is a management consultant and Canadian rower. Born in London, Ontario, he was a student at the University of Victoria, where he met his wife, Rebecca. He won the gold medal at the 2002, 2003, and 2007 World Championship for Canada's men's 8 team in Seville, Spain, Milan, Italy, Munich, Germany, respectively. At the 2004 Olympics, Kreek competed with the Canadian men's 8, who were widely expected to win a medal, but ultimately finished in 5th place. After the Olympics, he moved to Stanford University to complete a degree in Geotechnical Engineering and Hydrology, and continued his rowing career there under Coach Craig Amerkhanian. I hope I'm saying this right.
Yeah, Amerkhanian. Amerkhanian. Don't butcher that man's name. He's an Armenian and proud of it. Armenian American. Continue. In
2005, this is the type of conversation we're going to have today. 2005, Kreek took the summer off to get married. Congratulations. Spent time with his wife.
Great. It was a great summer, man.
Kreek coached at Stanford Rowing Center in 2006 and 2007 for the junior crew, but that's not all. He won a gold medal at the 2008 Summer Olympics in the men's 8 in Beijing. This is the most important thing that actually inspired me. Kreek singing the O Canada at the medal ceremony was cited as an inspiration for Simon Whitfield, who's a triathlete, who won a silver medal in the triathlon. Whitfield wrote, "Sing like Adam Kreek" on the handlebars of his bicycle and repeated, "Sing like Kreek" to himself near the end of the race.
Oh, Canada.
In 2013, Kreek set off with 3 other rowers to attempt the first ever row from mainland Africa to North America, recording it for classroom lessons in schools across the United States and Canada. 73 days into the 6,700-kilometer transatlantic rowing expedition, the boat capsized in the Bermuda Triangle. The crew called for help through personal locator beacon attached to a life jacket and were successfully located and rescued. That's quite a story. We're going to talk about that. He is now doing great things all around the world with his companies, Kreek Speak Business Solution and Ergo Sustainable Solution and Products, hell-bent on creating local, low-carbon economy. Okay, Kreek Speak is a management consultant, entrepreneur, and executive coach who walks the talk. Peak performance, shared leadership, managing change, reframing failure, and mastering health. Okay, so he's also a very good friend that keeps me on my toes, inspires men to get their health back, and standing at 6'4", 230 pounds, I call him the Greek God. Adam, thank you so much for being on my first podcast, take 2, because believe it or not, folks, we did this we talked for about 50 minutes, I think it was. We went down the rabbit hole and everything about the mental health side of things. And, my recording didn't work. But Adam being...
Listen, Bruno, yes. I have a TED Talk you need to watch. It's called I Seek Failure.
Yes.
And it just means that we're growing when we fail.
Yes.
See, and we found failure, and now we're learning from it. This is going to be an amazing first podcast.
Yes.
Like a practice run to make it so much better.
And I've watched the TED Talk. Actually, I've watched the TED Talk after you trained us, and it was really good. It was the one over at Royal Roads, right? That was the one. Yeah, totally. Very inspiring.
It was at the McPherson Playhouse, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
But here on Vancouver Island was super fun, right? The theater was filled with tons of motivated people who wanted to improve their lives. You couldn't have picked a better audience.
Exactly, right? And Adam, we read these bios and it's incredible, right? Everything that you've accomplished, that you're still doing. And I know you're doing way more. I left some stuff out and everything. You work with kids, you do all these things. You're inspiring and, taking me up and down Mount Doug here in Victoria, BC, because we both live in the same hometown, and then, kicking my ass. It's just at 5:30 in the morning, which I love, right? It brings me back to my military days. So, but in your own words, why don't you tell us your story?
My story. I grew up as an average kid in an average town, London, Ontario. Mom, dad, older brother, 2 older sisters. I was the baby. My goal in life was to grow up and get a really secure job and live a very comfortable life. And I guess that sort of changed as I went into high school and sort of got my feet under me. I had a coach who identified a talent in me. I played all types of sports throughout my youth. Rowing is a late entry sport. It's a sport that you enter in your teenage years after being somewhat athletic as a youth. And if you have that sparkle of talent, you have the potential of going all the way. And my coach saw that. He said, "Hey, Kreek, you're an Olympian. You just don't know it yet." And he kind of set me on this path to rowing at the University of Victoria, winning some world championships, winning some Royal Henleys, losing at the Olympics, being depressed from a massive Olympic loss, going to Stanford University, rowing with them, being a player coach with Stanford University, rowing with Coach Craig Amerkhanian that we talked about. What a wild and crazy guy. Coming back, winning another world championships, and then with 8 of my closest friends in the world, even to this day, 10 years later, we bang, we beat the world. We won. We stood on top of the podium, and after that, went and I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug. I thought I was going to be in resource development and extraction. That was my background as a geotechnical engineer. But I got the opportunity to start speaking at conferences. Decided to build a business in a pretty competitive and hard space. But I've really enjoyed the challenge. And then on the other side, having studied the Earth, I got very interested in finding a way to make it a little better place for future generations. So built this low carbon collective alongside a very smart and intelligent man, Brian Roberts. And, here we are. And I've had all the ups and downs of life. We're talking about when the smoke clears today. And I've certainly been to the top of the mountains, both metaphorically and figuratively. And I've certainly been, in the valleys or even the caves of despair. And I think, it's all just part of the roller coaster of life. And, my hope is that, some of our conversation today can reach whoever's listening. And, maybe you're just, you're chugging along and you just need some strength on the journey. Maybe you're flying high and you just need to keep that, keep the beat popping. Or maybe you're down in the depths and, who knows where you are on your mental health journey, but hopefully something that we say today triggers something in the mind.
It triggers mental well-being is what we're trying to achieve, and show that people that even though you can achieve what you've achieved and what we're achieving, that we still go through our up and downs in the roller coaster of being happy and joyful and going through the challenges, because if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you, right? So we need to be we'll be talking about breakdowns and breakthroughs and all these things. So it's pretty great. So Adam, when you said we said that in 2004, you went to the Summer Olympics and you guys were supposed to win. Like you were favored. And then you were training and you were doing all this stuff, right? So a lot of people, when they think about, like you said, my coach saw that I was talented. My coach saw that you're an Olympian. You're doing these things. But people think that you're born and it's just a sharp drive up to elite status. And then you get into the boat and you're rowing and you're doing these great things. But there's up and downs every day. Talk to us about what, the training protocol, what you were going up through that and, your mental health during training, and then after that at the games.
Yeah, well, the training protocol, it's interesting. When you first start as a teenager in training, you're starting to get introduced to load anyways. And you're not really that strong. You have some strength as a teenager, but you don't really get into that solid boom strength until you're right in your mid-20s, late 20s, where you can really start maximizing that physicality. The training in high school was maybe 3 to 4 times a week through the school year. Sometimes in the summer club, we'd train every day. Maybe once or twice we'd do it 2 a day, and we'd think that we were pretty crazy. Like, we did 2 practices today. This is amazing. Then eventually making it to university, we'd probably get up to 8 to 10 workouts a week. So lots of 2 a days, and just throwing in weights and other off water training. And then once you move up to the Olympic level, our schedule was, your typical daily schedule: wake up at 5:30 in the morning, make yourself a massive smoothie. You're consuming 10 to 15,000 calories a day. You're just trying to we were talking earlier before this started about how I tried so hard to put on weight. When I first started training, when I was 20 years old, I was about 185, and it took me 8 years to get up to a racing weight of 208. And I could get to a training weight of 220, but that just took a lot of effort of just eating all the time, and eating the right food, obviously, and being smart about it. So you get up at 5:30, you make yourself a giant smoothie, full of all the great stuff. You go down, put on your spandex, you get down to the water, you do your pre-water exercises. You're on the water from about 7:30 till 9:30 or 10. Eat a massive breakfast. These were some of the best breakfasts of my life. You just make as much food as possible and eat it all. And then go to the chiropractor, get your back fixed, get your body fixed, because it hurts, because when you're training at that level, you're training yourself to injury and breaking. And then 11, you're back on the water. You get off around 12:30, and then you eat some more food, take a nap, you wake up, you go to the gym, you lift some weights. And usually when I was younger, they were really heavy weights just to figure out my body. And then as I go older, it was more to balance out and to optimize my body and, for my sport, my discipline. And then after the weight session, you hop on the rowing machines for an hour and a half. And then you eat food, take a break, eat some more food, go to bed, right, rinse and repeat, Monday through Saturday. 50 weeks a year. You get 2 weeks off after every World Championships, and you're just grinding. It's a labor. It's a big labor.
So now we see this as training, the training that you're doing. So people are, can relate to that. You say, oh man, this guy's training. That's a lot of training. I'm a trainer, and I've trained all my life with my military, before even the military. And then the military career, you train and you're pushing yourself and you're doing the same thing. You're running all day, you're swimming and doing all these things. And then after that, people don't know is that what's going through your mind, because there must be mornings where when the body's hurting so much, you don't want to get up. You don't want to go and train. What was your go-to? Well,
I was part of a team sport, and I think that was part of my mentality, and I stick by the fact that I'm a weak, lazy, stubborn, stupid person, and it's all the other people around me in my life who have helped me achieve so many great things, and I'm so grateful for them. So when I would wake up in the morning, and if I wasn't feeling it, I would think about my teammates. I'd be rowing in a boat with someone, whether it was with Kyle or Dominic or one of these guys, and I'd say, I have to show up because this guy's waiting for me, and if I don't show up for him, like, this isn't going to happen. And so the whole buddy system was totally a strength. And I would say the hardest point in my career, and I would possibly say in most athletes' careers that I've been exposed to, is injury. Because you especially when you're young, you're learning how to train really hard, and it kind of scares you, and you're scared of the tiredness and you're scared of the exhaustion. But there's something, and you probably see this as a trainer too, after you've worked really, really hard, you feel better for it. You're like, what, that was really grueling, and I persevered. And I even felt that even yesterday. We were preparing for this. I'm climbing the Golden Hind in a couple days, and so we were climbing this 5'9" rock face, And I got to this ledge and I'm just filled with adrenaline and terror, and you're roped in and you're safe. And I'm just like, holy crap, I'm going to fall off this edge. And then my buddy, Gant, is saying, hey, come on, Kreek, you can do this. And finally I find the hold, and then I like pull myself through. My forearms are pounding, and I'm like, that was so hard, and I was so terrified, but I feel so much like I did it. Like I feel so much better about myself. And that, like, training hard is a gift, but the injury side was what got me, because it was a squat. I didn't do the squats properly, shoved my butt out too far, and boom, L4, L5, exploded.
Right. And I know something about that, because L4, L5, S1s are done. Me, it's from a paratrooping accident, landing in trees. But I know exactly what it feels like when we train, right? So. Oh yeah,
that's.
Yeah. So Adam, so the thing is that, we train, so we know about your training protocol and everything that we get from the training, because obviously that's what I tell people, and I tell myself as well. That's what I call I have a go bag, right? So your go bag is, this is ready, this is my bag, it's in my car, and I'm not going to go home, or I'm going to go straight to the gym, or I'm going to go do my thing. And I know that even though that I'm feeling down, today I'm just going to go in and just do a little bit of movements, and I'm going to stretch. And then you start moving and you start stretching and you get into it. And then, oh, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just do arms today, or maybe I'll just do a couple of lifts here and do that. And then you get into it. And then first thing you know, it's an hour later, endorphins are releasing. You're feeling good about yourself. You know what? I feel great. So when you were, I counted your medals. Me and you were talking about this, right? So for the people that are listening to this, this is how me and Adam met. So in 2016, I was named team captain for Canada for the Invictus Games, something that Prince Harry created for the ill and injured soldiers. We had about 6 guys on the West Coast that were ill and injured, one in a wheelchair, one was missing a leg, and some of us have invisible injuries, which we'll talk about. But the thing is that we were training for indoor rowing. And lucky enough, Adam gave his time, came in and trained us multiple times. And personally, I've never seen a guy get on a rower and row, first of all, a split time while he's talking to us and coaching us of one. I think I looked at you. I think it was a 1:08 or something like that. It was, you were pulling like really quick. And I was like, he's still talking to us and I'm dying. And then also that the chain reaches the end, right? So I was pretty
hit the bar, lean back,
right? So that's how we met. But what connected us is actually the conversation we had about your Olympic, when you went to Beijing and you won the gold medal. So now you're at the pinnacle of your life. It's the same thing we related for when soldiers. So athletes and soldiers train to do that one event, right? We train all our careers, you train all your career, and then you got to the Olympics, we go on tour and we do our job, and you went and did yours. We come back and we said, man, we went over there and I did all these amazing things. We kind of helped the world out. You went over there, you represented Canada, won the gold medal. What happened right after? This is what the conversation we're having today.
Yeah, well, when the smoke clears. And I had this tradition, and I don't know where it came from, but after every international race or big race, whether it was a big race or a small race, I would go down to the water side of the rowing course, and all of the umpire boats would be gone, all the athletes would be gone, all the boats would be off the water. People would have walked up, and somehow I'd find this moment of silence and stillness, and it's flat water rowing, so the water is super calm, and I'd just sit there and I'd look back at like the nerves, the adrenaline. When you get ready for a race, everything's through the roof. You're hyper nervous, hyper present, hyper ready to go, and you give it all. You push yourself to your physical limit, and you feel the after effects. But there's this moment of peace. I've heard it said even in war, when the fog clears, and it's just kind of sitting there and just feeling like, oh, that was a day, that was a battle, that was that, whew. And it usually, and I remember after the Olympics sitting there down by the water, and it felt good. I felt like I was done. I was very happy with the result. Obviously we had won, but I was happy with how we had done it. We'd done it as a team, and very proud with the process and all that. Afterwards, you wake up the next day, and there's just like physical aspects of the race, like you're having like digestive issues and your muscles are sore. And you're kind of like, well, this is kind of weird because now I'm done. This is something I've done. I've been involved in this sport for, it was 13 years for me, and now I'm done. I am no longer going to travel within 1 inch of hell in pursuit of a medal. Like I'm not going to do that anymore. Okay. And you just, it's this surreal sort of thing because it's so fresh. And then a few weeks afterwards, there's kind of a feeling of freedom. It's like, oh, look, I can sleep in. And some people might think after Olympic rowing or Olympic training, you might say, oh, I can eat whatever I want. For me, it was opposite. Like I was so sick and tired of eating all the time. I was like, if I don't want to eat, I'm not going to eat. Right? And this is literally what happened. I just didn't eat because I was like, I don't want to eat. I had to force myself to eat for the last 8 years. And so I went from, and I guess my racing weight, like I said, was 208. I was training at 220. And within a couple months, I was back down to like 190. And my wife was like, you are a skinny pencil. Like, you've got to start eating some food again. I was like, oh, I thought I've got so much energy when I don't eat. But but another thing that happened was that, okay, you're free, and I was no princess while I trained for the Olympics. You'd stop out, you'd have the occasional beer, or you stop out and indulge in some substances, but for the most part, you're pretty disciplined. It wasn't a regular occurrence. But when you're no longer training, it was, wow, I can go for a beer tonight, and I can go for a beer another night. And, oh, you're passing around the joint? Sure. I'll have a hoot and another one. And this is kind of nice. And wow, like this is fun. And so it was, to a certain extent, it was just there was a lack of structure and discipline. Yes. In that I didn't have the schedule to show up. And so there was this, at first it was freeing, and there was a lack of need to like monitor and take care of my body, because I didn't necessarily need it directly for my goal. It was, I had different goals, and business goals and life goals are slightly different than like something that's purely physical, like a sport. And there were other weird sort of psychological things that happened. Like I didn't feel like I deserved a shower if I didn't work out that day. Oh, wow. So there are days when I didn't feel like I went like a number of days, like 2-3 days, and where I wouldn't move and work out, so I wouldn't shower. I'd try to get myself to shower, and like I haven't sweat. Like I don't feel like I need to clean anything off.
Right. And if I can just jump in there, because I want to relate this to what the soldiers go through when we either move out of the military or we get released medically. It's the same thing. I think it's a drop in standards. It's a drop in discipline, and then a drop in structure. So what happens, it is freeing, right? You're like, oh man, I'm on my own. I don't need to cut my hair. I don't need to shine my shoes, and the eating part. And you're like, yeah, now I can have some beers. I can sleep in. Yeah, it's very freeing. But it is doing exactly what you're saying. You're like, okay, so now I can do this thing, and I would do this, that. And guys are having a hard time too, right? If they're suffering from mental health issues, either post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, the shower thing comes in. That's why I needed to jump in, because guys don't wash. They stay in their house. They watch more TV. They're doing these things. So the standards are dropping. So this is something we need to pay attention to, because I think it opens also to people outside there when they quit a job. Right? They quit a job. They're like, hey, man, I don't have to work today. I'll find another job. Yeah, for sure. But today, and then a week turns into a month, 2 months, 3 months, you know what I'm saying? And then people get out of the way. So, but I just wanted to throw that in there, because we're trying to relate with the, elite athletes like yourself and what regular people are going through.
Yeah, well, it's like a transition. I love what you said. It's a drop in standards, a drop in structure, a drop in discipline. And this was... And you said it so succinctly, and I'd say that was that was the challenge, to be an assistant. Like I said, I'm a weak, lazy, stubborn, stupid person. And the challenge was, I was able to thrive within an environment that demanded high standards, gave me a structure, and demanded high discipline of me. But I had to learn how to do that, to create that myself. To a certain extent, I felt like I was sucked along. It was an opportunity when I was young to join sport, and afterwards, I found that I guess the beauty of being in an environment like that, you figure out what your best self is like. You figure out how your best self can be, and for me, it put my standards really high for how I expected myself. And there's almost like, if I can't reach that standard, why even try? But as standard, structure, discipline dropped, I'm going through and I'm working through business, and I found that kind of at first I was pursuing these activities just out of pleasure, and I think there's a lot of great things that you can do that are pleasurable, and there are things that are more healthy, like meditating or singing or going for hikes in the woods, or petting your dog. Like, those things are pleasurable, and it's really hard to take that to the extreme and make them a crutch. But there's other things that are pleasurable that can be big crutches, like sex or pornography or
alcohol,
drugs, alcohol, gambling, video games, television, YouTube, whatever kind of. There's all these things out there that they're great, and they're pleasurable, and they're wonderful things, and thank goodness we have them. But they can very quickly move into something that's not very healthy. So,
because done in excess, they're not conducive to the best version of you. They don't keep you on your growth and all these things. And they're easy, right? We as humans, the default setting is the path of least resistance, right?
Exactly.
We're just going to go down that road, and we say, well, you know what, man, it's okay today, right? It starts with this conversation with yourself. Oh, you know what? I'm not that bad, right? I just won gold medal. I'm like on top of the world. So, you know what, man, I'm not that bad. I'm actually better than, I'm going to say 98% of the population right now, physically, right? I'm telling you that, right? But the thing is that when we get to that, it's like people that put on weight when they come and see me. They're like, oh, I need to lose 30 pounds. And they want it gone now. And I tell them, you didn't put that overnight. It was incremental over time. Right. And that's where the damage is. Obviously, having a glass of wine and, watching TV or doing these things aren't bad. But if that's your go-to to cope with something that's not happening and you're not asking the right question, this is what happens, right? So it's incremental.
Yeah, it's very incremental. And I like how you use the word cope, because in my own personal model, I found that pursuit of these things for pleasure is a good thing. And we should find pleasure in our life. And then where we should start to be aware is when we use them for coping. So if you start turning to the beer or to the pot or to the TV or to pornography or whatever you're turning to try to escape a stressful situation, my first answer is that's totally okay. Like, it's totally okay to cope with something, but just be aware and be conscious that, I am pounding a dozen donuts right now because I am stressed out and I am coping. And that's okay. That's totally okay to binge on donuts. Like, that's fine. The problem comes when every time you're stressed, when every little kind of flicker in your brain or your adrenal glands or whatever's happening in your animal brain, it goes off. You're like, oh, I need another donut. I need another donut. And then you move to this addiction place where every time you have a feeling, and it can't even be positive feelings. The only way I can be positive is if I'm eating donuts, and if I can only go out with my friends and have a good time if we're eating donuts together, right? And you're like, well, of course I can have good times without eating donuts. Yeah, but some people it only seems like it's a party if they have donuts,
right?
But
and then your favorite phrase is "Donut judge me," right?
Yes. Get a T-shirt that says that. Don't judge me.
I have one. I have a T-shirt that says "Don't judge me." So
I want to see that at a future podcast. Yes. And so I'm gonna finish this thought, because it goes: pleasure, coping, addiction, and I feel like addiction in my mind's a personal thing. you recognize that you're addicted, and so it's your responsibility to reach out and say, hey, look, I need some help. I need to start working through this addictive habit. So self-help books, getting a coach, talking to a psychologist, talking to your life partner, or whatever. And the final one is abuse. And abuse is where you start using these substances or these activities, and you're like donuts, and just you're eating so many donuts that you're 800 pounds, and you're hurting yourself, and you're hurting your family, and you're hurting other people around you. Then there's an intervention, and people will step into your life and say, hey, look, you're abusing this. This is really bad. So I found, in my own personal life, I'll say, transitioning from sport to the world, my coping mechanism, one of them that I used was marijuana and pot. That was something that I'd use. I could have a stressful day. I wasn't feeling very good about myself. I had another friend who, he retired from sport, 4 years after me. He's like, I didn't realize this pot thing. It's amazing. It's like instant exercise. I get that same feeling after a 3-hour workout that just after one hit. This is amazing. But again, that's nice maybe every once in a while. But when you start doing that every single night, every single day, it really gets in the way of your ability to think, to achieve things, and to live your best life, to live a good life, to live a life that has long-term levels of satisfaction and joy.
Yeah, totally. So the thing is that now we know that because we're on the other side of that storm, right? Mm-hmm. But let's talk about, obviously this podcast is about going down the rabbit hole, and we're going to have that discussion here right now. What was your darkest moment? What was the one that made you, what I call catalysts, right? Is when you hit rock bottom. Obviously for everybody, rock bottom is different. And as you grow and you do your thing, rock bottom also grows, and it's different, right? So I can remember that for some people that, addiction and living on the street is rock bottom. For athletes like yourself, is like you saw, you came out of shape. For me, it was, my marriage coming apart, drinking, all these things, and not not wanting to do anything. That was my rock bottom, right? For you, what was it?
Yeah.
And when was it?
Well, it was about 2 years after coming out of sport. And I don't have a definite moment in time where I say it was rock bottom, but I'd say what really flicked me on was a conversation I had with my wife. And we were living together, and she's like, hey, you're smoking a lot of pot. I don't think this is a good idea. It's not good for your health. You gotta ease up on it. And so I was tired of listening to her nattering. So I'd start to sneak it, because it's okay that I can sneak it. And so then I'm sneaking it, and then I'm trying to come around. I'm trying to act sober. Well, I'm not sober, but I'm and I knew that something wasn't right about the situation, but I was still in this state where I wasn't being completely truthful or honest for me. And there was this one time we were having some kind of conversation, and she just looks at me and was like, what are you, like, are you high right now? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, and it just kind of hit me to the core, and I realized that I was, one, I was leading a double life. Two, I was trying to run away from feelings that I had, and I wasn't really addressing them in a constructive way. And three, I wasn't acknowledging who I was as an individual. And so I'll focus on that last one of saying acknowledging who I was as an individual. Some people can take or leave physical activity. Yourself, myself, I feel like we're both these type of people. We need physical activity, and even extreme physical activity, if we're going to feel sane or happy or live a good life, because that's the way that's our nature. That's the way that we were born, and our ancestry. And it was at that time I hadn't been exercising as much as I should have. I wasn't really motivated. Exercising for health wasn't a motivator, just going like exercising to be healthy. And I eventually learn that, now for the rest of my life, I always have some athletic goal, whether it's a big bike ride or hopping in a rowboat with a bunch of 50-year-old men and going down a 2K course or climbing a mountain. There's something that's happening a couple times a year that motivates me to stay fit and train. And it was at that time that it kind of pushed me over the edge to say, I got to find something. And I joined a cycling team right after that, which was a triple shot, a pre-dawn cafe destination cycling. It was a group of guys. They got together in the morning. They had wives and lives and jobs and kids. And they just kicked my butt on the bike, which was great. And it was also, I think, there's an element of humiliation too. I'll talk about that because I just won an Olympic gold medal. So I felt like I had to live up to this expectation of being the best athlete no matter where I showed up. Mm-hmm. And so, even on a bike where I'm not kind of built to be the best cyclist, but I still would I guess I'm competitive. So the competition comes in there. It's like, I want to win. I want to do the best I can, but it's also this ego. I'm an Olympic gold medalist. I have to show that I've got it. I can't let people's expectations of me down. And that thinking was far too external. And I think riding with this group just helped me reframe and regain my humility when it came to my athletic pursuits, to embrace being a citizen athlete again and say, I'm out here for the competition. I'm out here for the drive. I'm going to do the best I can. And if you're a cyclist in front of me, I'm going to bust my hump to try and beat you, and I'm going to love it. And if you're trying to catch me, I'm going to try to get away from you. But I can't judge myself by being like the top in the pack because it's not possible.
Right.
Yeah, it's not possible all the time.
So that's the thought process that was going on when you found that group. But if I can go back just a little bit, to go back down that rabbit hole, what was your thought when you were like, I always say when you're in the dark, right? The cloud that's following you every day, right? You're thinking, like, I personally can say back then I was broken. I was no longer good. I wasn't a good father. I was not a good husband. I was hurting people. It's kind of like that talk, because that's what we want to tell the listeners, right? Because they're there right now, right? We struggle. So that's that self-talk that goes on of why we do where you were taking the marijuana, what I was drinking, right? And it says, might as well just give up and do these things because I'm no longer valuable, right? I was up here, now I'm down here. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, definitely is. And I like how you say I'm no longer valuable. I don't think I used that language in my head, but that was certainly the feeling. There was, I definitely had, suicidal thoughts. I thought, well, wouldn't this be like, this would be so much better if I just killed myself. It'd be so much easier. Like, there's no real much more value I can give to society. And then I would look back at even on my Olympic journey, I'm like, what was the point? Right. What was the whole point of it? Like, I was in a fucking boat, wearing spandex and like making a boat go fast. Like, what really was the point here? And I was told that this would be important. It would be important. I was told that this would set me up for something great, but I don't see it right now. I certainly don't feel it. I'd be depressed. I'd spend endless time watching YouTube videos. I got really into poetry slam at that time, and so I'd be like, I'd be watching these guys and these girls tell these poems, and I'd just be like, my heart would be singing, or I'd be crying, and I'd just be like, I just needed to find a way. It's almost like I needed to find this pathway to feel through these emotions.
Right.
And it would usually be when I was alone. I think that's the feelings would tend to, like, they would fade when I was around other people. But the problem was, as much as I tried to put myself in these situations where I could grow, I didn't feel like I was in a place where I was valuable. Like there, where like from a, like even just from like a societal standpoint, is like to be on, an Olympic rowing team and to be one of the those like to be a strong member of the team or one of the stronger members of the team. It's like people want you there. When you're not there, they're like, where are you? Like, we want you to show up. We need you. And that wasn't happening. I had to, go into society and people don't want you or need you. They couldn't care less about you. You have to hustle and demonstrate your need. But I was tired. Like I was exhausted from having grinded for the last decade to get here. And I'm like, well, I've been grinding so hard and I'm so tired. And now I see what it took to get to the top of the mountain. That was 10 years of a hard work. And if I want to get to a spot where I'm strong again, that's at least another 10 years. Like that's a long time away. And I don't know if I have the patience or the humility or the grace to start at the bottom again and be really, really bad at something. And that was
tough.
That was tough.
That was
and
tough,
then
right?
Well, and then you also you go through this other thing where like you're celebrated, and I'm not sure if this happens as a soldier. Maybe it does, but like as an Olympic athlete, you went to I won an Olympic gold medal, which was really cool. But then I seemed to for the next year or so, I won all these prizes for winning an Olympic gold medal. I'm like, this is so meta weird.
Right.
And then people all of a sudden, ascribe more value to you. For you, it was just normal. It was like, hey, but now all of a sudden, why are you I didn't know that this was that special.
Did you feel now they came out with this term now for CEOs and guys like you, and I felt it personally. So when you were talking about, the suicide, Tom, I went down, just to go back to that, you would go down and you're thinking, man, I got no more value here. I got, I was a guy who jumped out of a plane, who was a diver, who, was bomb expert and all these. What am I going to do now? Right. And you're thinking, wow, this is done. This is, where am I going to work with this? Right. And then you come out and you're thinking, so I just want to put a phrase there that's very important for our listeners, is that suicide doesn't end the pain. It only redistributes it to your family and your loved ones, right? It only passes it along. So, but the thing is on the other side of that, you were saying I'm coming back up, and I'm what are we going to do? What's happening in the thought process that comes out with that, right?
Yeah. So, what was the question?
Oh, sorry. The question was that when you were thinking about that, right? So you're saying, okay, what am I going to do? And you're saying I'm alone, right? I was alone. That's when I was thinking about that, right? That's what I wanted to bring in.
Yeah.
Is that when I'm alone, I feel like that. But then when I was with people, which is you mentioned many, many times on how you came back on the other side, it's also how I came back on the other side. The same thing is being part of a team and having other people on the other side, right? But we tend to think that we're the only ones suffering from this, and we don't want to hurt other people. So we I call it going inside my bunker, staying in my living room or in my basement, or, and I'm pulling away from your loved ones and you're not talking to anybody because you're thinking, oh, people, right? And I heard you say many, many times that you think you're lazy, stubborn, and stupid, which is, the kind of thing, but you're not, right? You're absolutely not, Adam. You're a Greek god. But the thing is the thought process, that your story that you keep telling yourself. And that's why it's so important to find that structure again, that discipline, that finding the other people. So now that we're coming on the other side, what was you'd say you joined that team, right? The cafe and the cycling team and all that. And after that, you notice that these adventure, for myself as well, again, going to the North Pole, doing these things. Now these adventure gets us because we're physical beings. So what was next after that?
Well, I started to, that was one of the things that I started to do. Another thing that I had, I enjoyed doing was these dory style boats. They're rowboats that go out on the ocean. There's a boat maker here in Victoria. He invited me down to a race in San Francisco. Went down there, met a guy who had rowed across the North Atlantic, And we just became friends, and we decided that we were going to put together an expedition and row across the North Atlantic Ocean. And to a certain extent, here I was, all of a sudden I had this void in my life. And meeting Jordan Hansen, he's a light of energy, he was exciting, he was motivated, he loved rowing across oceans. Before I met him, I thought rowing across oceans was like a ridiculous idea. Who would ever want to do that? That just seems like the dumbest thing in the world. Why would you want to get in a boat and do that? But then, it's like he's explained it. It's like a camping trip. You're out there with your buddies. You're seeing incredible things that you had never seen before. And you're pushing your body to the limits, and you're testing your psychology. You're in super tight quarters with these other guys. And I thought, wow, this actually sounds like fun, and sounds like something that would be really neat to do. And while I was building my my speaking and my training business, and when we were building this this biodiesel low carbon economy business, everything was moving slowly, and I didn't feel like I was having very many wins. But with this adventure of going across the ocean, I would hop on. We ended up getting these guys, like one, from Seattle and Bellingham and Victoria and Tofino, and we'd hop on Skype once a week, and we'd get together and we'd say, what are we going to do this next week that's going to get us just this much closer to our goal of rowing across the ocean? And we would plan these mini adventures, and we start out by doing a little row around Vashon Island, which is in the Puget Sound. And okay, we did this, and then we'd plan another adventure that was a little longer. We'd be on the hunt for sponsorship. We'd have to find money. We just had goals every week that just made us. And it was a really good group of guys that I was working with. They were positive. They were motivated. They were excited, and and so was I. And that just seemed to be I'd found a bit of my tribe, and working towards this big goal and inching towards it was, it was super motivating. And it gave me kind of the juice that I needed on the corner of my desk while I was building all these other, projects and programs. And it took us 4.5 years to plan the journey, to put together $500,000 to go across the ocean and fundraise all that money. So that took there's a bit of a learning curve, because I didn't know how to raise $500,000, but you figure out, you learn how to do it, ask questions, start putting yourself out there, and we managed to do it. And we got this boat, and we took it across the ocean, and then
Bermuda Triangle. Did you see aliens? Or
yes.
From the past? Tell us what happened there, right? Because you're training 73 days, right?
73 days.
6,700 kilometers. So you're close. Bermuda Triangle is close, right? You're almost there. And then what happened?
Well, it was shift change where a lot of disasters happen. It's funny, I give a lot of safety presentations now to people in heavy industry who work in mines and the oil and resource extraction. But shift change is where a lot of accidents happen, because there's more people on floor, there's talking, you're less attuned to the environment. And for us, it was the hatch door being opened. The hatch door was open, 2 guys went on deck, and I climbed in. Pat was there brushing his teeth. Funny wave hit us. It wasn't even that big of a wave, but it just hit us at that wrong or right angle, however you're looking at it, and then fills the compartment. And it's a small compartment. It's like 4 feet by 4 feet by 8 feet deep. And I was trapped in that little compartment. Pushed out my buddy Pat. Go. There's an air pocket, and so if you picture you're in this air pocket of this small space, and you're watching the water come up to you, and you're just animal brains full on, and you're just present, and you're survival mode. Take a couple breaths, down, go, pop out, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Everybody's okay. We'd gone through the full safety preparation. We'd done flip tests. We'd done emergency life raft tests. We knew what to do in the case of emergency. Pressed our emergency beacon, and yeah, it's like I even have the beacon right here. I'm gonna come show you. I'm gonna show it to you right here. There it is. ACR beacon right here.
Oh,
this
wow.
is the beacon I pressed in the middle of the ocean. So that got us, and C-130 U.S. Coast Guard came. They rescued us, pulled us out of the water. They ended up giving us commendations for safety preparation and our safety habits that we had. Unfortunately, we were hit by bad luck, and and there we go on the other side. And it was interesting because even on that adventure, we're talking about going down the rabbit hole. Part of that adventure was coming to terms with where I was going in my life. It gives you the opportunity to unplug and address. Not only are you having an incredible time with some people that you're great friends with. All these guys on the boat I'm the best friends with, but I also just got to work through some of the the whole bullshit in my brain, I guess. And if it was even just more, it probably wasn't even in my brain, because I when I try to think of language to put to it, I think it was just more feeling in my body that I needed to feel through or process. And some people call it adventure therapy. You're going out there, you're moving your body through space. You've got the Camino de Santiago, or the Aborigines go on their wandering, or the Muslims like to go to do their Hajj, or the Hindus like to to do their treks. And different, like, people have been doing this for thousands of years, of going on these physical treks through space. And it does something to your spirit and your soul. And I felt like that process helped me. Well, the adventure helped me process, part of my, Olympic experience, my athletic experience, and then set myself up for what I wanted to do with the next, at least give me an idea of what I wanted to do for the next, 60, 70 years of my life.
But that's it. The adventure did that for you, right? Because the same thing for me for the North Pole. It's exactly it. I was left with my thought for 7 days, pulling my gear, pulling my food and everything, going to the North Pole. And it's exactly it. You can't escape it, right? And I think that's it, is that if you don't put yourself in a place, we don't want to break down. That's the thing. We don't want to break down. We're trying to prevent a breakdown, but on the other side of a breakdown is a breakthrough. So you had your breakdown, I had my breakdown, and then sometimes we get caught in the fact, like, I can't just lose I can't lose my shit, because I got a family, I got bills to pay, I got these things, and you get wrapped around it. But the thing is you're just kicking the can down the road. So, but for you just explained, when I went through this, I got clarity. Right. And I got, this is what's going to happen. So we obviously, me and you, okay, so we're friends, and we talked about adventures, and, me for North Pole, Invictus Games, for you, the Atlantic, and then all the climbing that you're doing now. And now you're going into the Golden Hind and all these things. So for our listeners, how do we put that in the everyday life? How do we set ourselves up? Because now that's probably what people are asking. Well, it's great. You guys, you were a soldier, Bruno, you went to the North Pole, and Adam was a Olympic gold medalist and everything. But every day, we're just normal people. We just, we just got set up. What is your day? How do you set up? Because you still run into challenges, right? And then, so how do you set up with that to know that, you're going to stay on track? And if you don't, what do you do? Well,
life is about, I find it's almost a dance between having solid goals and direction and fluidity, and I'm always trying to find the balance between the two. At the beginning we talked about standards, structure, and discipline, and there's a lot to be said about that. But I've got a wife and 3 children, and as much as I want my standards to be high and the structure to be firm and the discipline to be high, like, my wife and kids won't thrive in the same kind of standard structure and discipline that I thrive in. They're different people and they have different needs, and it's, I think, up to all of us to understand what kind of standard structure and discipline works for us as individuals, what works for a family, what works for a group. So in a standard day, usually I'm trading off every morning. One morning I'm working out, the other morning my wife's working out, and usually I'm home for breakfast regardless. I love cooking my kids breakfast. I grow vegetables in my garden, pull them up. I think gardening has been one of the most therapeutic things I've found, which has blown my mind. I think it was Marcus Aurelius who said in his book, the two of all the things I've experienced in life, the two greatest pleasures are raising children and growing a garden. And
Marcus Aurelius is amazing. I like him.
Yeah. But anyway, pick the greens, vegetables from my garden, cook them up, make some eggs, some oats and seeds, and boom. And then we set our house up so that we're walking distance from a school, so walk kids to school, and then just start leaning into the day. And usually right now I'm writing a book, so there's a lot of writing that's happening. And then scheduling client calls and doing the best that you can to create some kind of schedule and structure, and then pull myself away from the work of the day by 6 or 6:30, and then help the kids get to bed, and then go to bed. Repeat. and then what keeps me in that is it's kind of a mindless structure, but what keeps me in that is that is having these. I'm taking 3 days to go climb a mountain, or my job does require me to travel a lot, so I do have some freedom when I'm on the road. But I do find that there's so I can get out I can get a lot of work done on the road as well, because that's all I have to take care of when it's just me. Or other times we'll have, we kind of have a balance as well through our family. Through our relationship, some people think it's kind of funny, but my wife and I, we love the time that we spend together, but we don't spend every moment of every day together. And we don't, even as we speak right now, my wife's at a family cottage with the kids. They're having a great time. And, I've been working alone in Victoria, and it's been amazing, because I've just been, they've been having a great time. I know I'd be going nuts, at the cottage. I can spend a few days, dialing down, but if I have goals, I have to be working towards them, and otherwise I feel unhappy. And so it's
because of how you're wired, right?
It's how I'm wired. I gotta keep moving, and so we find a balance. But I will take, it's about the grind, but then taking a break from the grind, going out on these vacations. I try to go out with my children at least one weekend a year, just me and one of the children, or just me and my wife, and then we do family things together. Mm-hmm. So it's having the structure, but then having little snippets of breaking it up, and that tends to be how we design our life. A lot of calendars, a lot of scheduling, a lot of lists.
But once again, it comes back, right? Standard, structure, discipline. That's where it is. And then if you balance that, these words have been associated to just, I don't want to say intense or anything like that, but, I structure and I schedule my relaxation and my meditation and all these things, because they are a priority. Because if I don't, somebody's going to hijack my time, right? Mm-hmm. So Adam, you've been nothing but amazing, talking about and really, opening up yourself for everybody to know what you went through as an Olympic athlete and now as a, executive coach and all that you coach other people on how to high performance and all that. So before we go into how people can reach you and all that, we're going to have five quick fire questions here on to see, to recommend what you guys, what you think you can recommend to other people about what you do. So favorite book?
Favorite book. This is supposed to be quick fire. There's so many books that I like.
Buzzer's going. Come on.
Yeah, buzzer's going. Yeah, I'm going to say the first book that came to my mind was The Obstacle is the Way and the Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. Two pulpy novels. They're really easy reads. It's on Stoic philosophy. It just gets your mind wrapped properly about, I can focus on what I can control and I can let go of what I can't control, and I can deal properly with the stuff in between. And Stoic philosophy, I'm a fan.
Marcus
I'm a
Aurelius,
practicer.
right?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie. What was that one where with Morgan Freeman, they're in the jail and then he escapes from the jail? Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, it makes my heart swell every time.
They called him Red. Red. Yeah. All right. Favorite song? Go-to song, either to get pumped up or to favorite song?
Bob Sinclair, World Hold On.
Bob Sinclair.
World Hold On. It's a 90s techno.
Right. Favorite go-to workout?
Favorite go-to workout, 20 minutes, high intensity interval training on the rowing machine, 4 minutes warm up at like 70% pressure, and then a minute as hard as you can go, a minute just dogging it, just doing as little as you can, so minute on, minute off. I think you do that about 7 times, and then 2 minutes cool down.
Okay, so still rowing. Still rowing.
Yeah, rowing machine. It's the best. Rowing machine is probably one of the best things you can do for fitness within a condensed amount of time.
I actually love rowing, and I've been missing it because of my back, obviously the bent over and all that. So I got to watch it. But yeah. And last one, favorite relaxation. What do you do to relax?
To relax. Walking or hiking.
Right
yeah,
on.
and I plug in a podcast or an audiobook and just
if
I'm moving through space and listening to something, I'm a happy boy.
Right on. Awesome. Thank you so much for this, Adam. If people want
listening to When the Smoke Clears by Bruno Guevermont.
Episode 1, take 2. Adam, thank you so much. If people wanted to reach out to you and see what you're doing and continue to follow you, Instagram, LinkedIn, all this stuff, tell us where we can find you.
Well, yeah, Twitter, Instagram, at Adam Kreek, if you want to see what I'm doing professionally. LinkedIn, if you want to contact me directly through my website, www.kreekspeak. That's creekspeak.com. You just heard some Kreek Speak right now. You can send me a note through the contact form. Check out my blog. You can see some of the ideas that I've developed over time. And I think they'd help. I think they'd help a number of people if you're in the pit and you're just looking for some hope. I think some of the stuff I put up there should be helpful at creekspeak.com.
And you have a book coming out. When is it coming out?
Coming out. It's coming out in the fall of 2019.
What would it be called? Do you have a title?
2019, and it's inches. It's all about inches. Every inch matters. It's a game of inches.
I love it. We're not going to go down the rabbit hole on inches.
We're not there, but it's all about small steps forward. Because I feel like, especially if you're in the times of darkness, it's about finding peace on the path to performance. Essentially, it's about having that grand ambition inside so big that it almost hurts, and you want it now, but but it's the fact of the matter, it's not going to happen. It's going to happen in 10 or 20 years, only if you consistently take inches every single day. And when it's not going to happen is when you fall off the horse and you're lost into, like, you're watching YouTube videos and drinking beer. That's when you're not going to find greatness. So, like, look for that next inch, that next tiny small win, and grind through it. And that's what the book's all about.
Yes, consistency daily is what you need to work on. And it doesn't matter how small of the step, or even if it's not an inch, half an inch, a quarter of inch, at least you're moving forward, right? That's
true.
Adam.
That's what she said.
You had to put it in there. I knew you had to put it in there. Okay, so listen, guys, thank you so much, Adam, for being on this podcast. I'm so honored that, first of all, I have a great friend, and not just that, Olympic gold medalist, great friend, and also a person that changes lives on a daily basis. So thank you so much, Adam. And guys, have a great day, and we'll see you soon.